there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Regina, and in this video, you guys are gonna get a look at my entire garden. We're gonna do a full edible garden tour so you can see everything that I have growing out here. It is April 16th, and so pretty much everything in the first round has been planted in the containers or in the ground. I have a couple of things I still have to put in containers, but pretty much everything else has been planted. Some things have been planted for several weeks. So I want you all to get a first-hand look of what's going, what is ready to be harvested. I got a couple of things I'm gonna pull out today, and just how things are progressing. Remember, as we get started, I am in North Texas, just outside of Dallas, as in downtown Dallas is just 10 minutes down the highway for me. And so I'm in zone 8A. So very warm climate. We do get cold winters, so I can't grow most citrus and things like that here, but most things I can give a go out here. But we do get 100-degree heat in summers as well, so, you know, give and take. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. I know you're probably thinking, Regina, we haven't even seen your video yet. How do you know we're gonna like it? Believe me, you will. Go ahead and like it. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Check out all the other content we have out there, or it's actually me, that I have out there, and make sure that you don't miss anything else. And of course, that helps this video get out to more gardeners and helps me grow my channel, which I'd really appreciate. So like, subscribe. Now, let's get to it. So the first stop on this tour, we have my oregano and peppermint. I have been growing these since last year. Both of these I started from seed in little containers and then eventually potted them up to these larger ceramic ones. I'm scared to pick this up. I don't know what's going to be under it. But yeah, these have been growing for a while. I just recently chopped some of this oregano and dehydrated it. And the peppermint I use in my coffee. I put it in smoothies. I have yet to make peppermint tea because I'm not really a tea drinker, but I am going to try that one of these days too. And the peppermint actually died back in the winter, but once it started warming up a little, it came back with the vengeance. So I thought it was dead and I was gonna have to regrow it, but actually it did fine. The oregano actually never even went dormant. It kind of stopped growing a little bit, but it never browned or died back. So step one, this oregano and peppermint, and hopefully I can get you guys a little bit better view. Next up are strawberries. Here I have a little laundry basket where I have strawberries growing in it. I planted this last year just to try it out. I saw it on Pinterest or Google somewhere, and it looked really cool. It's doing okay. Some of the plants did not survive last year, but some of them have. And I actually have a couple of ripe berries here. Rhea, you're blocking the camera. All right, I have a visitor. All right. So let's see if I can pick this one on camera. This one is ripe, red all the way through. Oops, I accidentally picked a little one too. Yikes. But yeah, it's a nice, beautiful strawberry. Go, red. Strawberries do not ripen once they've been taken off the plant, so I do not recommend picking them when they aren't all the way ripe. Here's okay. And then here I have my strawberry bed. This is a 4x12 bed, and it is dedicated to growing strawberries. But I had some extra onion plants a couple of weeks after I planted my others, and so I planted those in here, and I have a little bit of grass sprouting up I need to pick up. But there are some onion plants. They're still really small because I planted them so late, so I don't know if they're gonna bulb well once they start bulbing. But either way it goes, it's food, green onions. I also have some volunteer zinnias coming up. Most of them I will be pulling out, but right now, since the bed isn't crowded, I'm kind of letting them go. But as these plants put off runners later in the season, I'll be planting those into the bed, and so it'll take up more space. Also in this bed, you'll see I have some cilantro growing. I grew cilantro in this bed last year along with other herbs, and you know, cilantro bolts once it gets hot, and it's seeded, and those seeds started sprouting, and instead of pulling them up, since I had the space in the bed, I just let it go. And so now I have some cilantro growing in this bed as well. I haven't done a full video on strawberries and I will do one soon. I have footage of when I planted this out and whole story of how I planted on the wall, and so I'll get to that. But right now, they're looking great. I actually may have one or two more. Let me see. Sorry if the video isn't steady. Now that one needs a day or so. Alright, so next up on our tour is the onion bed. These are two different varieties of onions, the Texas Super Sweet and also a variety of red onion. I can't remember what exactly it was called. But yeah, these have been growing. I mean, I started the seeds back in November indoors, and they have been outside since very early February. And they are doing great. I actually just trimmed them a couple days ago because the greens are getting so long that they were flopping over. And when the base of the onion, I'll show you on this one, like when that neck breaks, then the onion will stop growing, and these haven't even started the bulbing process yet, so I don't want that to happen. And the great thing is the greens, of course, they just taste like green onions, and so I use them fresh. Anytime I'm cooking pretty much anything, I can drop in some green onions, and then I also will use them, I dehydrate them also, and then I have dried green onions to use on baked potatoes, to use seasoning, just in all kinds of ways. So definitely you can use them. Trim them if you need to. I don't trim them like for the sake of trimming them. I trim them out of making sure the plants, you know, stay standing up straight and healthy. Alright, so the next bed. This one is a bed where I am growing field peas, southern peas. And right now I have planted zipper cream peas, a few lady cream peas, and some white acre peas. I just planted them maybe 3 days ago, so they have not sprouted yet. I'll be out here with the hose though and watering again to make sure that the soil stays moist. And I might mulch these. What I've learned though is because I plant them so densely, I often don't need mulch. They kind of provide their own shade and mulch to the soil, so we'll see. But even whenever I do mulch, I always wait for the seeds to come up first. And then also the onion bed, which is right next to this one, I will be, once these onions come out in early to mid-June, I'll be planting southern peas there too, or field peas, whatever you call them. I love them, so I like to devote 2 beds to my field peas. Next up on the tour, this little half bag of compost. Next up on the tour, this is my bed that I have most of my cool weather type veggies growing in. So let's get in close here. This is actually a 5x8 bed. I wouldn't recommend it. If I was building again, this is the only bed I have that is that wide. And it's a little tough to reach the stuff in the middle, so I recommend 4x8, but 5x8 bed. I have videos when I started these seeds and also when I planted these out into the garden, so you guys will see those linked up in the top right corner, I believe. I'll put those up there. But this is tatsoi, which is an Asian cabbage. It's looking good. A teeny bit of pest damage, but overall, it looks great. Here I have curly kale. Here I have curly kale growing. And then this plant, I don't know what this is. I thought it was a curly kale, but it might be a collard, because when I was starting my seeds, I had accidentally filled one of them, put the wrong seeds in one container, and I thought I fished them all out, but I guess I didn't. And then over here on the end, we have lacinato kale or dino kale. Looking amazing. And then here in the middle, this grass looking thing, this is all garlic. I planted this garlic back in October, mid to late October, and I actually am growing this from grocery store garlic. I bought organic garlic since it's not sprayed with the hormones to keep it from sprouting, and I planted it, and it's doing great. Garlic here is usually ready to be harvested mid to late May, as so Google tells me. It's my first time growing it, but I'm really excited with how well it's done. It's made it through all the deep freezes that we've only had a couple where we've gotten down into the 20s, but yeah, it did great over the winter. And then here I have Savoy cabbage here on the end. 1, 2, 3 of those growing very nicely. Teeny bit of pest damage. Right behind it, I have golden acre cabbage. See, I have 2 of those plants. And I was dealing with some pest pressure on these earlier, but then they kind of chilled out. And I know the garlic helps with the pests to deter them, so I'm glad I have that there. And then back there I have a red cabbage, or purple cabbage. Here, it's right there. And then here I had another purple cabbage, but this one had some pests and they kind of took it out. So I pulled it up, and then here I have some Thai basil. I just put a Thai basil plant here because the more herbs and fragrant things you have growing, then of course that helps with pests. So I went ahead and put one of those in, and it's looking good so far. I need to pinch off. Looks like it wants to bloom because we've had some warm weather. Here is my Michelini cabbage. It's an Asian cabbage, and this stuff bolted almost right away. I have one that I've already harvested because it bolted, and it actually still tasted really good. So I'm just waiting to eat it. I'll probably harvest this one tomorrow, and we'll have it for dinner. So it bolted soon, but there's still quite a few leaves there to eat. Here, another Savoy cabbage. You can see right there. And then here I have my pak choi, and it bolted almost immediately. It didn't even get big. I don't know if some of that is because it was unhappy being in such a small container. I had those in very small cells for about 4.5 weeks, and I think maybe that stunted it a little bit and made it more prone to bolt. I'm not sure. Yeah, so this is all pak choi here and seeds. And then here we have Chinese celery. It's growing great. It looks a lot like the tall Utah celery I grow, but it has grown faster. Here's my tall Utah celery in comparison. Yeah. But yeah, it looks good so far. And there's another Savoy cabbage. Over here, I have collards. These are collard greens, 1 per square foot. It's interesting when you watch the growth rate on things that are exactly the same, but 1, 2, 3, these are all collards. And here I have more lacinato kale, because I love it. My lavender plant that's been here since last season. And then here, that's starting to bolt, is my viroflace spinach, all of this. I actually started this from seed in the bed back in December. I started a few other things, but this was the only thing that survived when we had those below 20-degree temperatures while the plants were still really tiny. But it has come under some pest pressure, but I've still been eating it. I'm just kind of avoiding those leaves. I actually haven't had to spray this stuff at all this season, and so I'm trying to avoid that. If the caterpillars get bad, then I'll spray it with some BT. But oftentimes in the summer, I'll just kind of let it go once it gets hot, and maybe preserve one plant by spraying it with BT and let the other ones go, and then just kind of reclaim them when it cools down and remove the leaves. I just like to keep one going so I have enough for smoothies and stuff, but let nature do its thing. And then here in this square, I planted a couple of zinnias and marigolds. And here is my lettuce. I have Paris Island and Grand Rapids lettuce in here, right here and here. I think this is the Paris Island, and this is the Grand Rapids. And then I have a few mustard greens. I only had like 2 plants left because some of them died because I went out of town and they didn't get watered while they were still seedlings. But the 2 I planted have grown, and sometimes I get confused when I'm picking lettuce and grab the greens, but these are mustard greens here. And then here's thyme. It's starting to bloom. I've been growing this thyme since last January. This thyme survived those below 0 temperatures that we got here. I mean, it pretty much looked like it was dead, but it came right back. And that's it for this bed. Now I want to show you guys, next up on the tour is my tomato and corn bed. So just for orientation purposes, this is my strawberry bed, and so this is right next to it. So I have corn growing that I planted. I just direct sowed the corn. I didn't bother to start that indoors. We have a long growing season, and actually this corn is called Honey and Pearl, I believe. It's a short season, like a quick maturing variety, and so I'm hoping to get 2 rounds planted. I've only grown corn once before, and I only did a couple plants, so I just want to see if growing corn is something that's going to be feasible for me. Corn is not expensive, and so I'm not going to grow it unless I can get a lot in a little bit of space. Otherwise, I'm not going to devote a lot of space to something that I can buy, 4 ears for $1. But this is supposed to be a crazy, super sweet variety, so I'm excited to try it. Also, I have sprouting up some tomatillos and ground cherries. That's what I had growing in this bed, and I just did not get them all removed, I guess. So they're sprouting up, and I'm just kind of rubbing them out as they come. And then here are my indeterminate tomatoes. Just get a good look. I'll have a video coming out very soon on these guys, on how to plant them, getting the stakes into the ground, and all of that good stuff. Right now, I haven't tied them yet because I haven't needed to, but I have 20 plants I'm growing here. These first 3 stakes in the middle, in the front, I have not planted the plants yet. I just started those seeds really late because I didn't have them right when I was planting, so I'm letting them get a little bigger before I plant them out into the ground. But here are the rest of my indeterminate tomato plants, and they are looking amazing. They have been in the ground for 2 weeks exactly, and I'll show you what they look like when I first planted them, and they have grown so much. So all kinds of varieties here. I'll put them on the screen, just put a little list so you guys can see, but so many different varieties. And check out that video that I'm doing. I'll be shooting actually the rest of it today on the tomatoes to see exactly how I plant these, how I tie them up, and how I'm going about double stemming them on these furring strips. And also you'll notice in the margins I have some basil growing right there. That's just Genovese basil, and I have a marigold plant there. And then over on the other side I have parsley growing. Let's see if I can. Over here I have some parsley growing. So I like to just tuck herbs in to the edges of my beds, help with pest deterrence, and it's just a great place to put them without taking up a lot of space in your garden, but you can still have a lot of herbs. Okay, here is my other tomato bed. This one I'm not finished with the trellising aspect of it, but these are my determinate tomatoes. So determinate tomato varieties I'm growing are Roma, Amish Paste, and a few early dolls. They were some free seed, the early dolls were a free seed packet, and so I was like, you know what, I'll try these out, but they are determinate, so they're in this bed. And these are looking good. I'm very excited about these plants. And here you see some cilantro. Over there I have a few marigolds on the edge, and some zinnias, some spicy globe basil there, and then another marigold. So they'll be growing here alongside these plants. Marigolds are also really great to grow with tomatoes because they help to kill those root, I think they're called nematodes. They're actually deterrents for those that grow under the ground and can cripple your tomato plants. So it's great to interplant marigolds with your tomatoes. But yeah, these guys are looking beautiful. And I will not be single stemming these because they are determinate varieties. They'll grow as bushes, but I'm planning to Florida weave them. So I have these stakes here because I have these furring strips left, and then I have some more, or I need to get some more. Well, I'll try to use wood I have lying around here to put on the other end, and then I'll use string to Florida weave them. I'll do a video on that once I get that up and running and as the plants get a teeny bit bigger. Alright, so next up we have this is my pepper bed, and here I actually have pepper and eggplant. These are my 3 eggplants growing, my first time growing these. I have 2 fairy tale eggplant, 1 rosita. You can see marigolds, you'll see them all throughout my garden, and then a variety of pepper plants. I grow my pepper plants pretty close, about a foot or so apart. Some of them are a little closer because I had a few challenges with some of the pepper plants. After I planted them, we got a pretty good storm that came through with a lot of winds, and some of my pepper plants were broken and did not make it. And so at the time I wasn't sure if they would or not, and so I planted right next to them a new plant, that way in case the old one survived. And then some of them did, but most of them didn't, and so I just didn't have my spacing exactly as it was before. But a variety of sweet peppers and a few hot peppers growing in this bed. I'll put the varieties on the screen for you. And also you'll see some marigolds, and I have basil. Marigolds here, right, marigolds. And this is cinnamon basil, I believe. Now here, in between my pepper bed and this year's okra bed, as you can see, I do have an arch trellis made out of 2 hog panels, 2 8-foot. And I'm growing my melons and cucumbers on it. So here are the small plants. These are cucumbers. I have Sumter Straight 8 and Armenian Yard Long Cucumber. I started some from seed indoors, and then some of the plants, once I got them out here, just were not looking great. So I dropped in a few seeds, which is what I should just do anyway. We have a long growing season. I don't know why I bother with trying to start them from seed indoors when it's just as easy and they catch up very quickly. And so here on the other side, here is some basil, lemon basil to be exact. And you'll see marigolds as usual. And then here I'm growing yellow crimson watermelon and Sharon Tice melon, I believe that's how it's pronounced. It's French, I don't know. Up this trellis as well. So cucumbers on the side on the tomato bed and watermelon on this side. I did this last year with watermelon and it worked amazing, so I'm doing it again. It's a great way to grow watermelon without a ton of space. And then here, this bed is my okra bed. And I just planted these seeds, I want to say a week ago, and they are starting to sprout. Several varieties of okra I'm growing this year. I love okra, and check it out. If you like okra, grow it, because if you live in a warm climate, it loves it, and it is crazy nutrient dense. The fiber, the nutrients, okra is a superfood, so grow it, eat it, love it. I'll put the varieties on the screen. I also, this was my indeterminate tomato bed last year, and there are so many little tomatoes that are sprouting up of plants that I didn't quite clean up. So I was just gonna let my okra sprout, and I have a few grasses I need to pull out. I'm just gonna let my okra sprout so I don't mess up any of the seeds, kind of rubbing out these little tiny tomato plants that are coming up. So I'm gonna let most of them sprout and then pull those up, rub those out, so I'm not messing with where I put my seeds. Okay, so if I head over to the other part of my garden, just turn around and show you the containers we have going on here. And this table is just a regular plastic table. I use it for potting up and just garden things. So I have it out here. And right here, here are my nectarine trees. You can see right behind me. So let me get in close. I'm trying to move as steadily. Sorry, the air conditioner is going, so you can probably hear that. I'm trying to move as steadily as possible so the footage isn't all shaky. But my nectarine trees, they were full of blooms. Now the blooms are fading and the fruit is coming. So I'm expecting a really good harvest this year. I got these trees last year and they actually fruited for me last year. They're in containers, so I wasn't too worried about them getting established. I need to prune these water sprouts that are coming up. But overall, things are looking great. And starting to see the first tiniest pieces of like fruit setting. But yeah, these water sprouts though grow really quickly. Let me trim those. And then other containers that I have planted. These are tomatillos. Let's see. These are green tomatillos. Fun fact about tomatillos, you do have to have 2 plants at least in your garden. You don't have to put them in the same container like I did, but 2 plants from 2 different seeds in order to get fruit because of the way that they pollinate. So if you ever grew tomatillos and you only had 1 plant, you didn't get fruit, that's why. Here's my other tomatillo. These are purple tomatillos. Last year I had several tomatillo plants, more than 4, and I had just so much fruit, more than I could use to make salsa verde, and so I pared down and put them in containers. I'm gonna eventually have to like build some type of trellis for these because they grow wild, but we'll see. And then here are my ground cherries. This is 2 plants as well. These are Aunt Molly's. I'm not sure if you have to have 2 plants for ground cherries, but I have 2. These are Aunt Molly's ground cherries, and then a variety I haven't grown before, New Hanover ground cherries. I loved them. My daughters loved them. My son was kind of lukewarm, but I loved them. My daughters loved them. So decided to grow those again. They're easy to grow and lots of fun. Okay, And then here are my blueberries. My blueberries are in containers because of our soil. You know, you have to maintain acidic soil for blueberries, so I keep them in containers. I have several varieties, 7 total different plants and a few different varieties. I have a video from about a month ago or a month and a half ago when I potted up some of them, the ones that were in these 2 blue ones, these powder blue. And I also re-acidified soil and fertilized them all. So if you're learning about blueberry care, then check them out. The powder blue blueberries and the Premier, this one, I got last year. And then the rest of these I just got, I want to say November, December. So I guess it's technically last year, but like during the fall. I purchased them as dormant plants and they're already fruiting, so that's great. We're starting to produce fruit. They've already bloomed and most of them are starting in the fruit set portion. As you can see here, this is my one of my Titan plants, and this one already has berries on it. These berries are, it's called Titan because the berries can grow to be like the diameter of a quarter. So I'm really excited. So these are tiny for now. Yeah. But yeah, blueberries are looking amazing. So now, here is the, I like to call it the perennial area of my yard. And this is where my fruit trees are. And I have some other things growing here as well. Yeah. But before I show you guys that, I want to make sure I don't forget to show you my pole beans. So this year, for my pole beans, I am trying to maximize my space. And so I built, and I have a video on this coming out soon too. I just wanted to wait till the plants grew a little and then I can actually put them on the trellis to really show the finished effect before I finalize and publish that video. But I built these raised beds out of leftover fencing material, and I have 4 here. They're 6 feet long, 1 foot wide, and I planted my yard-long beans and pole beans in these. And I wanted to utilize my fence as the trellis because this space otherwise is unused in my garden. And I wanted to grow enough pole beans or green beans for the year. And so I figured this would be a great way to do it without taking up space that would be used in other ways. And so here's what the raised bed looks like. They're all planted, but it's only been about 5 days, I want to say, since I finished planting them and building these beds. So they haven't sprouted yet. We'll be watering them today to make sure they stay moist. And here is my trellis. It's just wire. It's a really thick, like 12 gauge, I think it's what it's called, wire wrapped around this metal part right here. So it's nice and sturdy, just wrapped around. And then on the top and the bottom. And so those kind of make the base of the trellis. And then I have string tied between them. And so the plants will grow up those strings. And so I have this one finished, and I haven't finished the rest of them. I'll come out here each day and just do a little at a time because it takes me a little while to make the trellis, to tie each individual string. The metal part, the wire is easy, but the strings took a little longer. And so I'll finish those up. And the plants haven't sprouted yet, so I have time. But I'll get all those finished by the time the plants need them, and I'll grow my green beans right here against this wall. Now, here in the perennial area of my garden, first here, these are beets, obviously not perennials. These are my beets. I started these from seed indoors and then planted them out here, and they are doing great. I actually want to grab one of these for my smoothie because they're not 100% done. Even the one I'm going to grab probably could grow more, but I need one because I want to use the greens, and I saw one that was looking kind of nice. Let me see if I can find it again. There's a gold one. And these are rainbow beets, by the way. The seed pack was rainbow beets, so there's a variety of different kinds of beets in here. small one because it could still grow, but I'm ready to eat it. And I won't be able to eat all of these at once, so I'm okay with pulling them little by little. Look at that little golden beet. I've never had a golden beet. So you guys can get a better look. Whoa. Here is the beet I just harvested. It's a small one, fits into my hand. And the greens on that. I love beets in smoothies. Depending on how big they are. If it's a really big beet, then I'll slice the beet in half and use half of it in the smoothie and like half of the greens as kind of the veggie part of my smoothie, and then I just do frozen fruit. Well, I use oranges. I always use those little mandarins. I use a couple of those, and then a little banana, and then whatever other frozen fruit I have in the freezer to make my smoothie. So they're usually just fruit and vegetables. I don't really add anything else. And beets are just delicious in smoothies, but I've learned that if the beet is really large, that earthy flavor will take over, so I'll use half. But this one I'll just use the whole thing. But I'm going to take a little bite of it for myself so I can taste, because I've never had a golden beet before. But yeah, but they're not all ready to harvest. This one could have gotten a little bigger, but for me, I want them when I want them. That's why I'm growing them, and I'm not planning to pickle them or anything. I like beets mostly for fresh eating, and roasted, they're delicious as well. So I like to come out, and when I'm ready to eat it, if it's far enough along, then I'll grab one. Okay, so next up on our tour, so those are the beets. And then right here we have raspberries. These are, I have a Caroline Red and a double gold raspberry plant here. This one and that one. One of them's Caroline Red, one of them's double gold. Not sure which is which from here, but I do have labels down there. And these were just sticks when I got them over the winter, and they have grown tremendously. They've already sent up shoots from underground. Let me show you. Look right here. These have come from underground, so they are spreading, doing their thing. Okay, so now here are the blackberries. These are Prime Arc Freedom. I've had these for about a year. Got them, they were tiny little plants, and I put them in containers. This, let me say winter, I planted them into this bed, but yeah, they have taken off. I actually have berries, lots of blooms, and some berries forming. Here's one, as you can see. But actually, it's more than one, right? It's like 4. But lots of berries growing on these guys. So it's going to be really fun, and lots of blooms. These are turning out to be very productive. A total of 4 plants, and like blackberries do, they're setting up shoots, having their best life. Lots and lots of berries being formed and blooms. So next up on the tour, guys, are the muscadine vines. Aren't they pretty? Sight to behold, right? So I have these muscadines growing in containers just because I didn't know a lot about muscadines. I still am learning, but I just wasn't 100% sure if this is where they needed to be, etc. So I put them in big containers, and they're doing great, but I'm 99.9% sure they have grown down the roots through the bottom holes on the containers into the ground, so they are not going to be moved anytime soon or forever. So just to get an up-close look, I have 2 varieties of muscadines growing. I have Fry and Cowart. This is the Fry, I think, over here. And I didn't grow them the traditional way with just one arm going out on each side, you know, 10 feet or 15 feet in each direction, however they do it, because I wanted 2 varieties and I didn't have space for that. So I decided to let them grow multiple arms and just put them on. These are also hog panels or cattle panels, 8 foot long, attached to, these are U-posts. These are the big sturdy ones. And they're doing great. These are going to carry plenty of weight. These U-posts are crazy sturdy and dug into the ground really deep, so I expect these to be able to support the fruit load that they get. But actually, something I noticed recently, y'all, sorry if my camera work is not amazing. I'm still learning. I just wanted to give you up close. Yeah, these have recently come out of dormancy, but I also noticed I have the faintest little buds now. What are you? Get off. Sorry. I have some buds forming, y'all. Okay. Let me let my camera focus. Y'all see those little balls? Those are buds. Those are going to be blooms, y'all. I'm getting me some fruit this year. So, yay. And I have some in the very early stages of my other plant as well, but the most prominent you can see are right on these. So, very excited about my little baby buds on my muscadines, because that means I'm going to get some fruit. And, yeah. So, they are looking great. Cannot wait to see how these turn out. Right, now over here, these are my dwarf ever-bearing mulberry trees. Right now they're in buckets. I got these last summer. And so far they are looking amazing. They've completely come out of dormancy. I even have a couple of fruit forming on one of them. I believe they're way deep in there. Here we go. It's this one. Okay, let me get in there so you guys can see. See those little tiny fruit right there? I've never even tasted a mulberry, so I'm excited. But these produce all season. And the plan is I'll be using the rest of this wood that I have from my old fence. This, I have some over there too. It's the rest of it. And I'll be building a raised bed right here against this fence for these trees. I just haven't gotten to that yet, y'all, because there is a lot to do in this garden. Plus, you know, in my house and, you know, with my 3 children and my husband, so I can only do so much. But eventually I'll get to the next month or so, get that raised bed built for these 2 trees so that they're in an even better environment than the buckets, the 5-gallon buckets they're in. I bought these buckets at Home Depot. They were like $4. I just like them better than the Homer buckets. So I look like I'm just really have a whole lot of Texas pride. And, you know, I do like it here, but I'm not obsessed with Texas. It's just that it was Texas Star buckets or the orange Homer buckets. And these were, to me, the better option. Alright, so here in the middle, as you can see, this is a keyhole bed. I built this from leftover fencing as well last summer. And in here, these are just additional seedlings, plants that I have. I need to water these. Actually, some of them are kind of dry. I planted a bunch of extra plants from the plants that, you know, the seeds I was already growing for my garden. Planted some extra, and I have sold, I think I've grossed maybe like about $150 worth. Oh no. I see a beet over there. I must have accidentally pulled up. Oh no. I'll grab that. I need those greens. But yeah, so this is what I have left. I have them on Facebook Marketplace, so I'll leave them on there until these plants get a little too old or until I run out. I need to renew my listing, but yeah, I've gotten some interest. It's been really fun. So, earned enough money that paid for, you know, all the compost I bought this year and all the seeds. So, that's a win-win. And I didn't expend much because I grow them in these cups that are very inexpensive, and then I, you know, make my own peat moss mix as well. So my cost for them wasn't very much. Here are the rest of my fruit trees. Okay, so here, these are my cherry trees. Got these last summer, and I have them in buckets until this winter when I planted them in this bed. And I'm not expecting a lot of fruit from them. I want them to focus on growing foliage and getting stronger and established in this bed. But I do have a couple of blooms, so I might let it produce me a cherry or 2 just so I could taste them. Because I don't think that'll take too much energy from the tree. This is a Stella. Here is my Lapins cherry tree. And this one had a couple blooms as well. So I'm guessing they were pollinated because I've had bees galore. So I might get a couple of cherries there too, so I can taste my Stella and my Lapins. Here are my peach trees. I have a Harvester and a Redskin peach. They're both growing well. This Redskin one was literally just a stick. If you look at my perennial tour video, it was a stick, nothing growing. I was very scared when I get the little sticks that nothing's going to grow. This one already had a few branches. But yeah, these guys are going to focus on growing, and I'm expecting fruit from them next season. I'm pruning them backyard orchard style, so I'll be trying to keep them short and you know, double planted them. But yeah, here is my gooseberry plant. This one I also got last summer. It was just on clearance. I think it was Stark Brothers on their website. And so I was like, you know what? I've never had a gooseberry. Why not? It is a very thorny plant, but I noticed today I have a few blooms in here. Let me show you. So here we go. Not only do I have blooms, but tiny, tiny little fruits coming in. So I'm excited about that. I didn't know for sure I would get fruit on this year. I know it takes them a couple years to bear, but the plant did have a few branches when I got it last year. So very excited. And this is in a container, big giant container, same size as the ones I have my muscadines in. So yay, I'll get to try gooseberry this year if everything works out. And then here, these are my plum trees. Sorry for the air conditioner sound. This is a Methley plum, growing quite nicely here. And this is a Bruce plum. So they are like pollination partners and of course great for my area. And this Bruce plum was also just like a little stick. So now we've got branching, we've got leaves, so yay. And then these two fruit trees are my apples. This one is my Fuji apple. Which I'm excited about. We love Fuji apples. So it's a short little stick, and I'm going to get some nice branching on it, so I'm very excited about that. And here is my Granny Smith, which will be a great pollinizer for this Fuji. And of course, we like Granny Smith apples too. All right, so that's it for what I have back here, and quickly I'm going to show you guys the front. So out here in my front yard, I have two Asian pear trees. I got these last year, but I got them as pretty mature trees. So they fruited last year, which I probably shouldn't have let them. I should have let them get established, but they're still doing okay. And they have finished blooming, and they're starting to set fruit right now. So I have lots of these guys on this tree. My other tree, however, does not have much fruit. But I think because of just how I pruned it, I had a lot of crossing branches, things like that. And so I think that I pruned off a lot of the fruiting buds, which is fine. A healthy tree is better than, you know, you can sacrifice a year of fruit on it. But yeah, these are Asian pears. So quite a bit of beginning fruit set on these guys. So I'll probably end up having to thin them a little bit. And here's my other Asian pear right over here. And this is the one that doesn't have a lot of fruit, or didn't have a lot of blooms on it. Right, so thank you for sticking around to the end of this video. I hope you saw some stuff that maybe has you thinking about some new things you want to plant in your garden, or you just enjoyed just taking a look and seeing what another gardener is doing. I know that's why I love garden tours. I love getting ideas, and I love just seeing what other people are growing. So go ahead and hit that like and subscribe if you didn't listen to me and do it right when the video started. Now you've got your proof that you want to, so go ahead and do that. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you. Bye.